This is the story of the 993 Turbo barn find.
It was available in '96 and said, come on with me, grab his checkbook. He took myself and my brother up to Road America and we did the skip barber racing. And I got a whole bunch of his videos. He put a camera inside.
So one day my next door neighbor walks over and I'm in the middle of working on a 991.1 GT3 in black. The car looks amazing. I've already polished it. I think I was getting ready to ceramic coat it, or maybe it was already ceramic coated, but this thing looked really, really good. And he walks over and he says, hey, I see you work on a lot of Porsches. You know, I've got a Porsche. I'd love for you to take a look at it. And I said, oh wow, you know, I had no idea you had a Porsche. I've never seen it in the neighborhood. I've never seen it drive by, nothing. And he goes, yeah, let's go take a look at it. So I go, sure, let's go. We walk over and you know, the door slowly rises and goes up and there's a Guards Red 993 Turbo sitting in front of me and I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap, I mean, how long has this thing been here? He goes, it's been sitting for 4 or 5 years or something like that. He said, you know, I used to drive it and you know, Dad passed away, he left me the car, I drove it for a little bit and then it started to sit and then I just it just sat, and that's just kind of how it is, and that's where we are right now, and it's sitting here. And car's covered in dust. There's tons of oil underneath both of the turbos on both sides and the back, just sitting there. And this thing is a true barn find. It's in immaculate condition for the most part. Obviously it needs some mechanical help. Obviously it needs a lot of detailing help because it's just been sitting. And immediately I was like, you know, insert name. You know, I want to record all of this. I want to make a huge, awesome detailing video and really go the extra mile here and put together something special for you, because this is obviously a special car to you. So begins the process. So first we started off by just backing the car out of the garage. We didn't want to start it because we didn't know what kind of condition the car was in. So we didn't want to start it and blow anything up or do any damage to the car. So right away we just pushed the car out. You know, put it in manual, let the brake down, just pushed it out under our own power. Nothing was too stuck or anything. While the car was being pushed out, you know, we're on a little bit of a hill, so behind the driveway is a little bit of a downward hill. And you can see, like, you know, he starts pumping the brakes. There was nothing for a second?
Yeah.
And then finally we built a little bit of pressure in the lines and it, you know, I think he might have just pulled the handbrake. I don't think there were any brakes for that little section. So we almost pushed the car down the hill is the point. So once the car was set back up in the driveway and everything was secure and it wasn't gonna roll away, I brought over some of my tools, my pressure washer and everything, and we just wanted to pressure wash all the dust off it, see kind of the base condition of what the car looked like. We wanted to send the car in to get worked on. We did not want to send it in with all that dust on it. I don't want them grinding all that dust in. I don't want them to feel like they need to wash it when it's at the place for maintenance, because we don't want that to mean they wash it horribly and make the paint even worse, because the car was in pretty good condition, so we wanted to do our best. So by no means did we do a huge wash or anything, but the car was washed and then it was pushed back in the garage. So I got the customer in contact with some people who wanted to assist on the project, who gave them some special deals, basically to get the car back on the road. They just wanted to be part of the project. They wanted to be part of the, you know, the 993 barn find project. So they were nice enough to help out and do some special labor rate stuff and basically just kind of help and get the car going. So the car was at the dealership and they started doing some of the maintenance on it. I ran over there on a day or two and we filmed some things. In the course of finding some things, the car obviously got new tires because the tires were very, very old. While taking apart some things in the back of the car to do spark plugs, which by the way is an unbelievable job to do. I mean, it's like it took them maybe an hour and a half just to get some of the things out of the way, just to get one spark plug out, because everything is just jammed in there so much. And I asked him, I was like, is it this, I asked the tech, is it this hard to change spark plugs on like a 992? And he said, no, they're very thought out on the new ones. Like it's pretty easy to put parts in and spark plugs and oil changes and stuff. But the old cars, for whatever reason, these 993s are unbelievably difficult. So there's a lot of labor involved in getting some of these parts out.
Here's cylinder 4, cylinder 5, cylinder 6. You can't even see it.
Yeah. It is definitely complicated. I watched him do it. He wasn't making it up. It was not some dealership story of, this is a complicated thing to do. So in the course of doing that stuff, we found a mouse nest that was wedged way in the back of the engine bay. So they vacuumed that out, and we kind of took some video of that. And in general, I'll try and drop some information on what happened, or maybe we won't. But all in all, $13,000 of maintenance was done to the car to get it back on the road. A lot of that was basically just maintenance items, new tires, new oil changes. The sunroof needed some maintenance, and obviously all of that oil was leaking out of the car. So there's a fun story behind that. So the story goes that the car was dropped off and it was put in the drive aisle. Maybe some miscommunications happened, because obviously they maybe should have put it outside, so if they ever had to start it, it wouldn't cause this problem. But what happened is the tech, the master tech, obviously he knows what he's doing, he just had some miscommunication. He started the car indoors inside a very brand new shop facility that was just built, a beautiful place. And basically the car obviously has oil issues where it was leaking all over the floor, so it shoots all that crap out of the back of the car, and it basically smokes out the entire building to the point where it literally set off the fire alarms, and the fire department had to come to their shop and basically shut the fire system off. And they said, like, we could see the smoke coming from before your alarm even went off. Like, we knew something was going down, it was going to be bad. So it seems like it was a little bit of a funny situation where the whole dealership thought that the place was burning to the ground. They didn't really know what was going on for a couple of minutes, and then everyone was informed, because it's a lot of people work in a dealership. So once they were updated, everyone was obviously okay, and it wasn't a big deal. But it did kind of cause a scare of a fire, especially for the fire department, because they had to gear up and go over and turn the alarm off. So the car was there for a while. They had to basically burn some of the oil out of the inside because there was so much that had leaked into the turbos. It's just, it's been kind of a problem. So the car smokes a little bit when he drives it still, which we've double checked like with 20 different people, and it all seems to be about right. So the car does work, the car does run, everything's good to go. So the car ends up leaving there, it gets brought back to the owner. The owner is good to go, takes it for a drive around the block just to make sure everything was working correctly. And one odd thing that happened is that the owner, took the car around the block, and he's pulling back in and he's honking the horn. And I'm going, man, he's so happy. He's honking the horn, like he's really excited about this thing to be back home. And when he gets out of the car, he walks up to me, and the first thing he says to me is, "I wasn't honking the horn." And I was like, what do you mean? You honked the horn like a quarter way around the block and all the way up the driveway? And he goes, "No, I wasn't doing this. Every time I turn the steering wheel, the horn honks." And I was like, "Oh, geez, well, we got to figure that out. I don't know what happened there." He actually fixed that pretty easily, and it wasn't a big deal. But it was funny that the first time he drove the car in 6 years, the horn was honking uncontrollably, and he couldn't fix it. Fast forward about 2 to 3 weeks from that point, and the car is here. The car finally comes to status detail, and it's in our possession. And we start the process of about a 4-day full detail. So we wash the car when it comes in. The owner had washed it when he got it back, just because he loves this thing. He wanted it to spend some time with it and take it for a quick wash in his driveway. But regardless of that, we washed the whole car in our spot here, just because we wanted to make sure the car was ready for paint correction and that it was totally clean. You can see on the car there's tons of oxidation. So, this is a single stage paint car. So single stage paint, like, as it ages, and also when it's in the sun, you start to get oxidation. So basically it's almost like the top layer of the skin almost getting like dry skin. You can almost look at it like that. And because this car now is very, very bright red, before that the car was turning basically like a chalky white color, and that's oxidation. So we had to remove that. And removing oxidation isn't terribly difficult, but what happens is you get a ton of residue in the pad. Now, you don't really have this problem typically on multi-stage paint, because multi-stage paint doesn't have oxidation issues for the most part, because multi-stage paint has UV inhibitors in it, which stops it. So UV is the main reason you're going to see oxidation in single-stage paint. Now, the other issue that we're dealing with here is that single-stage paint changes the color of your pad. So the residue that comes off when you're polishing a red car or a yellow car would be red residue or yellow residue. So it really fills the pad up with a lot of residue, and that creates just complications with the paint correction process. Now, when I'm paint correcting a multi-stage paint car like a 992, you're still getting residue. Residue still comes off and still gets into the pad, but that residue is just clear because the top layer is clear coat. Multi-stage paint is a base coat, color coat, and then, or really it's primer, then like a base coat, color coat, and clear coat. So we're just removing clear, so we don't really see it, but we're still managing it. But for the most part, we don't get as much residue most of the time, right? Now on single stage paint, we're getting crazy amounts of residue, and we're getting single stage paint residue off, so we're changing the colors of the pad. If I'm polishing with a yellow pad, I'm turning it bright red. Now, this gets complicated because I have to use a lot of pads to do a car like this, because I'm blowing out pads like crazy. And if you can blow pads out, or you can just start swapping them out. And I'm of the opinion for the most part that you don't really want to blow out single stage paint. For one, you're causing a little bit of a health risk that you're literally blowing that crap all into the air, and you don't want to breathe any of that in, and because there's so much more residue on single stage paint than there is multi-stage. And on top of that, it goes all over the shop, and then on top of that, you still have that dye in the pad, and it's still just not working the way you want it to. So I started swapping pads a lot. Now that gets even more complicated when we're doing small pad polishing. So 3-inch, 2-inch, 1-inch pads on the small intricate parts of the car. That gets even more crazy, because now when you have a 6-inch pad, you have more time before the pad loads up with residue. When you have a 3-inch pad, you have even less. When you have a 1-inch pad, you have even less. So you're going through pads like crazy on small pads. And that's like, when you're doing these sections up here, I mean, it's like crazy. You're going through pads a lot. So this is a very, very, very complicated paint correction process. On a scale to 1 to 10, if I would say a 992 Turbo S, somewhere in the neighborhood of a 6, maybe a 6.5 or 7 in terms of a paint correction, because they have soft paint, so they can be a little bit tricky to work with. You know, it's probably about a 6 to do a 992 Turbo S. It's not a terribly complicated car to do. The most complicated cars you do are the cars with crazy aero, like 488 Pistas in the front have aero everywhere, a 600 LT, a 675 LT. All of those have really crazy aero. So it's just like, you know, the 675 LT would be pretty, like those kinds of cars have lots of aero and vents where it's just very complicated to get in there and polish. Those are a 10 on the scale to 1 to 10. Now on a scale of 1 to 10, again, look, 1 is very, very easy and 10 is very complicated. This car was probably a 9, which is not what most people would say when they look at it. But when you're dealing with single stage paint residue issues, and certain issues like I can't do this curve with a 6-inch pad. I had to do this with like a 3-inch pad, and then I had to do it with a 2-inch pad in the very middle. And while I'm doing all that, I'm managing residue levels that are coming off from each, because I'm building up residue 3 times or 4 times faster with the 2-inch pads than I am with the 6-inch pad. So the amount of time that you get to work goes lower and lower and lower the smaller the pad. So it's like you have to make every moment count with that fresh pad to get the correction out, otherwise you wasted another pad. And you only have so many pads, and when you're working for so long on a car like this for like 2 days in a paint correction, that gets really serious. We had a lot of paint to work with, so no burn through, no burning of the paint anywhere on this entire car. Everything is immaculate and in perfect shape. But it's really complicated, and I can't express that enough, and I hope the footage running in the background kind of describes why some of this stuff is complicated. I always talk about bespoke paint correction and bespoke detailing, which means custom tailored detailing. Now, the back bumper, the front fender, the mirrors, the front bumper, and the front hood all have been painted because this car was driven on a racetrack pretty often. And so the original owner of the car, the dad, this is a one-owner car, he raced it, and when I think he was towards the end of the career time of racing the car, he painted all these things, because obviously like down here we had lots of rock chips, and obviously lots of rock chips and things in the front. Now, I didn't know that it was all single stage paint when we started. I figured it was more modern paint in the repainted areas because I figured they were repainted more recently. But it turns out, to my surprise, as I was going through the whole car, the entire car is single stage paint. So in the sense that the car has been repainted, so it's not original or factory by any means, but it has been restored to the original sentiment of what the car used to be, in the sense that the whole car is single stage paint, and that's what it's supposed to be. It should be a single stage paint car. So that's kind of interesting, and also it's interesting because the residue and the way I paint corrected the bumpers and everything that were painted, massively different than the original paint, because it's just different. So you can't take a car like this and say I'm going to take this pad and this polish and I'm going to do the whole car, and you just can't do that. This is a completely bespoke process from start to finish, where multiple different panels are being polished multiple different ways, not because it's fancy or not because it's because it had to be done that way. There was no other way to do it. That was the only way, and it was most importantly the correct way to do it. Almost more important than all of that, this is a family-owned car. It's a one-owner car now, titled in the son's name. We were saving this time capsule of a moment for this person who has memories of watching his dad write the check to buy the car at the dealership. I mean, so you're protecting so much of like an identity of what this car is for the family. So in the end of the paint correction, everything was done. The car is panel prepped, and the whole thing was ceramic coated. So all of the paint was ceramic coated, and all of the interior leather was cleaned and ceramic coated. And just the entire car had a final once over. All the door jambs were cleaned, all the things you would hope. That the trim was all cleaned and ceramic coated. All the glass was ceramic coated. The wheels, the leather, the paint, all of it, everything you can imagine. Now, the important note with the ceramic coating on the paint is, like I mentioned before, single stage paint does not have UV inhibitors in it, so nothing's stopping it from getting UV damage, which causes oxidation. But we put dual layer ceramic coatings on this car, which will last for 7 years, which have in-house warranty through me, and most importantly, ceramic adds UV resistance. So we will hopefully not have any major, UV issues from this standpoint. And for the most part, the car is garage kept, so it's not really going to be in the sun in the first place. But just being in a hot garage can still kind of make some oxidation happen. So ceramic is a big step in this detail because it's really sealing in and locking in a lot of the work that we did. So this is a very special car, and for so many different reasons. It's a 993 turbo. It's the last of the air-cooled Porsches. It's a $250,000 car. It's only going up in value every single day. There will never be any more made. They're only ever diminishing in numbers. They're being crashed and things are happening. So there's only 600, then there's 599, then 588. There's more than that, but you get the point. So it's a very special car. It's a very complicated car to detail, so you don't want to screw anything up on it. The last thing you want to do is tell the owner, hey, we made a mistake on it, or hey, we burned the paint on the fender and it needs to be repainted now. You never want to have those kinds of conversations with someone. More important than all of those things, this is, a one-owner, family-owned 993 turbo. So the current owner of the car, he saw his dad walk into the dealership, take a check out, pay full value check, write it out, and buy the car. Vividly remembers the moment of his dad doing that. Vividly remembers going to the racetrack with his dad. His dad used to race this car all the time. It's a special car. It's a time capsule. Cars are time capsules, and this car has so many memories attached to it. The dad unfortunately ended up getting sick with cancer, and he passed away. And obviously he left the car to his son, and the son enjoyed it. He drove it, and eventually time got away from him, and the car sat, and it sat for a long time, and that's why this whole process of this barn find restoration video happened. But the point I'm trying to make is, this is a video about detailing Dad's 993 Porsche Turbo, like getting it back on the road. But this really isn't a video about detailing. It's a video about family, and it's a video about Dad's Porsche. It's a video about all the memories that the customer has. And this is one of those memories now. So as a company, Status Detail loves being a part of these kinds of projects because lots of detailers detail cars, sometimes even cars like these, and no one hears about it. One picture is taken, it's put on their Instagram, and it's buried forever. Whereas we took hundreds of pictures, documented everything, made a video. That video will be on YouTube. I can give a copy of this video to the owner if he wants one. He can always have this. He's going to show this car to his mom because obviously the mom's, you know, it was her husband's car. She's very eager to see it, and I can't wait to show her this car and hopefully capture that on video so she can get to see it and we can share that with you, the viewer. There's so much more to the story than just, oh, $250,000 barn find turbo, you know, restoration detail. Like, I love documenting this stuff and sharing it with you guys, and I think that's a big part of our brand now. You know, so if you have videos that you want to be made on your car like this, I'd love for you to get in contact with us. There are very few detailers who will put in the time to do this kind of stuff. It is so time consuming to make videos like these, to film everything, to make all the special trips to the shop to film all the additional footage. I didn't charge any extra money for this, guys. You know, none of this is sponsored by anyone, and this is sponsored by me. It's sponsored by Status Detail. It's all my time, it's all my money, it's all this stuff I'm putting into it because I want to deliver this content to you, the viewer, because I think it's extremely important to share awesome stories like this, and I think it's extremely important for the owner of this car to have all this documented, so he has that. It's so important. It's so special. So I hope you guys can see that and recognize that because it's important to me that we share awesome car stories like this for car enthusiasts and car culture reasons. So if you enjoy these videos and you're enjoying, you know, what you saw today, definitely subscribe to the channel. Definitely like this video. Definitely share this with somebody. You know, share this on Renlist, or, you know, if you're on a forum for 911s or something, go put this in there and share it so lots of people can see it, because it's not about me. It's 100% about the family, about their car, and about the story we wanted to tell. Because this was a family story, and I hope the family enjoys it and had a nice time watching it.